Episode 483 of the Soul Not For Sale podcast. It's Joe Rogan, it's Gad Sad, and they're touching on young people's mindsets. Certain young people, not all young people, but the more socialist types who feel that, you shouldn't be able to make as much money as you want. You should only be able to live in a certain amount of housing. People who are, they're a little Castro-esque and they don't realize it. And then they're also touching on the current government in the United States. And Joe Rogan has the quote of, "I have zero faith." And I was just wondering, what kind of faith do you have in the government, current government right now? What faith do you have in them? Do you have faith that they're using your tax dollars properly? Do you have faith that they're doing things in your interest? Do you have faith in the system as a whole? I would love to know that in the comments. Usually I ask this type of stuff at the end, but I just want to ask that at the beginning. What kind of faith do you have in the whole thing? The whole thing, from the intelligence agencies to the military to the government that's in place, even down to your local government. I'd love to know. Give me a little breakdown of that, because that's very interesting. And that's something to really know. And not just for you to say it, but for you to also see in the comments how other people are feeling. Because I think a lot of the time when it's into regards of stuff like this, Joe Rogan saying that he has zero faith, I think when you start realizing that there's way more people that feel like you, you're empowered to become more outspoken. I think that's like the superpower that the left has, is that there may be a small majority of them in these alphabet communities, but when they all get around each other, they feel emboldened to yell out. And I feel like the other side, the unheard people of the world, of these states, need to start making those type of claims out loud as well, so they can find tribe and start uniting. Just a thought I'm having. Before I bring you to that clip, though, I'd love for you to just check out the store. This is IamCoachColin.com, and this is our newest design. It is the cricket connoisseur himself, public enemy number one. Give the WEF the middle finger in style. Again, this is the Public Enemy number one collection. It is our newest collection. This here is one of our newest ones as well. It is the Certified Pure Blood t-shirt. And just so you know, I can't say this on YouTube, but this is for the unjabbed and proud. This is for the people who survived the largest psychological experiment ever conducted in human history. And if you fall into that category, one of those survivors, one of those purebloods, get you one of these. We have t-shirts for men and women, tank tops for men and women, and hoodies. And we also have this design as well. If you want 10% off of anything you choose to purchase inside that store, just put in the discount code I am Coach Colin. Again, it is I am Coach Colin, all capital letters, all one word, one L on the Colin. Let me catch my breath. And if you've ever bought anything off of our site, thank you so much. You are much appreciated. Now let's get into this clip. Let's go.
Appreciation and their perspective is very different. They're also, like, people that come from communist countries in particular, they are just so allergic to that horse shit.
Yeah.
When they see it coming, any Marxist ideology, they see it coming, they're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you. We know where this goes. This goes to, you have to give up all your possessions and everything goes to the state and everything gets distributed evenly. Like, how do you enforce that? Like, who gets to choose? Like, what the fuck are you signing up for? But these idealistic kids that think that the world could be a better place with socialism, if that we all just, like, no one should, I saw this thing argued. This guy argued online, no one should ever be able to make $1 million, and that you should be restricted to a certain amount of income that allows you to have a certain, like, it specified the certain size apartment that you should be allowed, and anything else is in excess.
Amazing.
And that it's, an attack on the freedoms of others. It's like there's this fascinating takedown by this, like, super progressive, probably college kid.
Well,
I had these ideas.
I've seen it. So I think last year when I came on the show, I might have been right in the throes of having all my book royalties stolen from my last book from the tax authorities, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was really pissed about it. And whenever I would post a tweet sort of condemning the parasitic taxation system, there would be people who would write to me with complete entitlement, Canadians, and saying, well, why should you get to keep the money instead of you not being a selfish pig and sharing it with others? So my book royalties, my thoughts, my ideas, my humor is not mine. As a matter of fact, according to the Canadian government, about 58% is owned by them. But it really comes from having this idea inculcated in you, which is that we should all have equality of outcomes. It is a cancer, and it is an affront to human meritocracy. It's unbelievable.
The argument against that would be that there's a certain reality to the way you were, the way you're living in this life, and that you have resources available and you have things available that other people don't have, and it would be better if you had less and then it balanced out. So if you give a little bit more and then eventually balance out. The problem is it's not balancing out. The problem is, like, where's the money going?
Right.
Well, the money is going to the government, and they get to decide how it's spent, and they get to pass laws and dictate and send a little here. And, well, there's a war, so we're going to need more. And then there's inflation that comes with the war.
Yeah.
It's the price of gas and food, and everything goes up. And all this is happening, and you can't say shit about it.
Yeah.
And you're in this position where you're like, well, if you complain, well, you're a man of privilege.
Exactly.
You're privileged, and you should be giving that up. And if you gave it up, the world would be a better place. I don't have any faith in their ability to use my taxes to make the world a better place.
Right.
I have zero faith. I willingly and happily pay my taxes because I think it's part of being an American. You contribute, even if the system is flawed, you contribute to at least some of it is going to fixing roads, and some of it is going to, education and healthcare or whatever it is. Some of it's got to be going to people that care and are really trying to make the world a better place. Some of it has got to be going to whatever organizations that are doing a good job. But the idea that if you just keep, like, some people think they should have a 90% tax bracket.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're a billionaire, you don't deserve to have a billion. You should just give up. Well, guess what? They're not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
People are going to get upset. They're not going to innovate. You don't have a quality of effort. There's a lot of equality. People talk about equality. There's not an equality of effort. There's not an equality of intelligence. There's not an equality of skill, of talent.
And it's genuinely anti-human nature. And I'm not sure if I've said this before on this show, but E.O. Wilson, the famous Harvard biologist, he's passed away now last year, I think. He studied social ants. And in social ants, everybody is equal other than the reproductive queen. So when he was asked about socialism/communism, his answer, which I love to always quote, was, great idea, wrong species, right? Which perfectly captures, right? We're not all equal. Some of us are taller, shorter, harder working, less harder working. So there is no reason why we should all have equality of outcomes. It is anti-human nature.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
It's not realistic to expect people to work as hard as some people. They don't have to. You don't want to be Michael Jordan. Well, don't fucking practice 12 hours a day. You don't have to be Michael Jordan. Like, if you're happy as being a guy who works a job and likes to go hiking and likes to go fishing or something, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's all kinds of people. And some people are going to be that guy.
Yeah.
And when they are that guy, like, you can't say you have to give up all your money. It's hard to be that. It's hard to be Michael Jordan. He deserves all that money. It's fucking impossible to be. Only one guy pulled it off.
And you deserve all the money you make, my friend.
Let's leave me out of this. Try to skirt around that.
But if you wanted to be fair and send some to the Gatsad Trust Fund.
What do you use your trust fund money for?
I would use it to be able to use as escape velocity so that I don't have to answer to anybody.
Have you, because of the oppressive nature of the Canadian government, have you ever thought about jumping ship?
Oh my God, I think we've discussed it in the past. I think about it probably 30 times a day.
Wow.
I haven't been able to for two main reasons, Joe. Number one, both my family and my wife's family are in Montreal. So that's number one. That keeps us there. Number two, it's very, very hard to walk away from a tenured professorship. I mean, that's the truth.
That last thing you just said, that's called golden handcuffs. That's a sad place to be in. When you get paid so well, and you're not happy in the situation, but you can't walk away. Those are called golden handcuffs. They're gold and they're worth a lot, but they keep you tethered to a place that you'd rather leave. That's a sad situation to be in. Oh man, so many places to go. What I don't know what these young people, and it's old people that think like this as well, when it's like you shouldn't be a millionaire, 90% tax, give us a chance to try real socialism. Some people even say real communism. It's so arrogant. It's so arrogant, it's so naive, it's so nonsensical to think that, to think that it would be a good idea to give a small group of people most of the money that people are working for. Like that's the best thing to do. Like that's going to make sure everyone's taken care of. That's happened in no places. None. You can go to China, because China has something like that going on a little bit. Like even an NBA player who is from China and in America will still have to pay a large amount to China of their salary. Billionaires, same thing. Companies that you run in China, owned by China. It's wild. It never works. You can go to China, you can find the poorest of the poor there. You can go Russia, same type of thing. Everywhere where you've seen this type of thing, Albania, anywhere you've seen communism spark up, and they try to suggest this, it always turns into a shit show. My friend's wife is from Cuba, and she's a little young, so she doesn't really remember the turning of things, but she has direct relative, father, grandfather, all of that go through what actually happened, of like, this is going to be great, and don't worry, everyone's going to be taken care of, mainly going to happen to the rich, don't worry. And the next thing you know, like the authorities show up again, and they're like, so your cattle and everything, we own that now, and we're going to give you a little bit percentage of this. So you go from owning your own farm to now you don't own it, and you get a small percentage of what it makes. It's crazy. And it happens all the time. I said it in the last episode. You think it's just old people who just don't get it right, but it's not true. There's young people right now who don't have the right things in mind, and have ideas like that kid that Joe was just talking about. Nobody should be able to be a millionaire. You should have to be in a certain, you have to live in a certain box. You can't go beyond that. It's excess. Like, man, it's wild. It seems like we the people are going to be fighting off little bits of communism, little idea pockets of communism forever, because it doesn't wear off. Like there's young people right now thinking, rich people are bad. And I'm telling you, I bet some people listening to this think the same way. It's the worst prison to be in, to think that you have all your problems because of the rich. It's the worst prison to be in. The worst. Because it mentally, again, this is true. Okay, this is me in my coaching bag right now. It gives you the mindset mentally to never become rich, to never become wealthy, to never become someone who can hand over your family generational wealth. It puts you in that mindset because you don't want to be an evil person. And if you're saying that the guy who owns $100, $200 million, $300 million worth of real estate, if you have it in your head naturally that person's evil, and one of your values is not to be evil, then you're never going to be able to pursue what he pursues, because you're always going to have it in your head that that's an evil pursuit. It's such a bad place to be in. It's such a bad place to be in. And you know something else? This is the other thing about those young people who have these socialist, communist type of ideas and think that they could do it better. A lot of them, they know what it leads to. They know, and they're okay with it. You know what I mean? It's just like when I talk about AI and how, there's some people like Sam Altman, the guy who runs OpenAI. There's a lot of different guys in this space. They know where it leads and they don't care. They don't care. And they're strapping in the whole human race for the ride. They don't give a shit. Same people, same type of people in the government or coming up as young people that may be placed in the government when they're older. They know where it leads and they don't care. There are people. A lot of people hate to drift towards the nefarious, but there are some people who have very nefarious intentions. And they're not looking for socialists. They're not looking for equality. They're looking to be the person that ushers it in. And they're looking to be the person that gets the 90% that everybody has to give over. Whew. I'm telling you, there's some people like that. But let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think about, like, some people have good arguments for socialism. I haven't heard many. Some people even try to have arguments for communism. But I mean, history shows that that's a terrible idea too. But let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think? Because, I've heard people talk about capitalism and how bad capitalism could be. But then I've also heard like Patrick Bet-David talk about capitalism, and he has a very strong argument for why it's good. I'm in the mindset of, I think this is part of capitalism. I'm not an expert on this type of stuff, but I talk about my mom all the time. She was 55. She's like going on 70 now. She's 55 and decided, I'm going to start a business, and had no ceiling put in place because of that. And she was able to make as much money as she possibly could. She was able to put in as many hours as she could. She was able to outwork her competition. She was able to, undercharge, overcharge. She was able to go as far as she wanted to into other neighborhoods, into other regions. She was able to do whatever she had to do in order to make that business sustainable and something that could provide for her and her family. I think that's capitalism. I think under socialism, under communism, definitely, you can't do things like that. And that's the thing. If you're not somebody who wants to do that, because that was rough. That was 14 hours a day cleaning hard, like in industrial and some commercial in some places, not just houses and stuff. Cleaning hard, 14 hours a day, and then using like another 4 of those hours trying to build a business, like proper infrastructure and stuff. Like, I don't know. If you're not someone that wants to do that, that's fine. But I feel like you should take whatever you get not wanting to work that hard, whatever situation that puts you in. You're kind of choosing to just be in that situation. And the rest of us that do want to work as hard as possible and amass generational wealth and amass what we feel we deserve, we should just be free to do that. It shouldn't be, I really don't think there should be a place where I set out to make this business. I set out to build a clothing company. I set out to build real estate. I set out to do all these things, and then somehow everybody else is deserving of what I have. I just don't think, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Because like Joe Rogan said, then I'm not going to work that hard. It's going to create a whole generation of people, which, as I say this would benefit the government in place of any place that had this going. If it was 90% taken away, I'm going to work as hard as I have to the point where I get to keep as much as I can, and then I'm never going to go over that. Why would I? Because then now all of a sudden I get into this bracket where I'm working for you and I'm not working for myself. The whole goal of me being an entrepreneur was for me to work for myself. I don't know. I got to start thinking about that more. See, that's why I like doing this podcast. I start to think about capitalism more. I start thinking about, different aspects of the world, because I've always been an entrepreneur, but I've never thought of capitalism all that much until, communism started tiptoeing around the entire continent and started changing the West. I never really thought of it that much, but maybe it's something that we should think about. I've heard people downplay I've heard people downplay capitalism so much, but I feel like it's a really good thing for those who are willing to work. Now, if you're going to screw people over you're doing backhanded stuff, borderline illegal stuff, I can see why that would leave a bad taste in people's mouth. But if you're just going out and working, you're not tearing down anybody else's building, you're just building your own as much as you can, I think you should be allowed to do that. And if you end up building a skyscraper, you should be able to do that. Now, I will say, I do have a little bit of a problem for somebody who works in tech, who wears glasses, might have the first name Bill, buying up all the farmland. I kind of have a problem with that. I know I just said, capitalism is good, but when you all of a sudden, you're buying up all the farmland, I don't know. I feel like there should be a little bit of a cap. I'm not saying he should have to give it over to anybody, but maybe there should be a bit of a cap there. I don't know. He's the largest farm owner. I think he has some wild number like 300,000 acres of farmland. That's not good. That's not good at all. And then after him, I think, is Jeff Bezos. And then who knows where BlackRock is and all that. Like, I think BlackRock is buying up residential. Bill is buying up farmland. What's that leave for the rest of us? Are they just going to start inflating the prices? Are they going to make sure the soil is filled with GMOs? That's for a whole other episode. Like the video, it helps so much. You have no idea. Let me know what you think in the comments. Boost us out of the shadow realm with those likes. Subscribe if you haven't already. This was episode 483. Other than that, I am out.